the State of Tech, the European edition, Friday, April 24th, 2026. I'm Samantha Lawrence.
And I'm Bob Russell. Today, Elon Musk's Terafab alliance with Intel, OpenAI's new GPT-5.5 model, SK Hynix smashing profit records on AI chip demand, Anthropic's data center push into Europe, Gartner's forecast of a 13.5% jump in global IT spending, and finally, a Spanish quantum-inspired AI compression deal heading to Japan. Let's start with Musk and Intel.
So Bob, this one genuinely surprised me. Elon Musk is teaming up with Intel. That's a sentence I didn't expect to say this week.
Same here. The project is called Terafab, and it's a joint venture between Tesla, SpaceX, and xAI. They want to use Intel's 14A manufacturing process to produce AI chips in Texas. The ambition? 1 terawatt of AI compute power per year.
A terawatt. That's a staggering number. And Tesla is putting $3 billion into a research facility in Austin just to develop chip-making ideas.
Intel brings the design, fabrication, and packaging expertise. Musk brings the demand. Tesla's cars, Optimus robots, and xAI's Grok models all need huge volumes of custom silicon. Until now, Musk has leaned heavily on TSMC and Samsung. This is a real pivot.
And for Intel, which has had a rough couple of years, this is a lifeline. Landing Musk as a major foundry customer is exactly the validation their 14A process needed.
It also fits the bigger picture of reshoring chip production to the U.S. The Biden-era CHIPS Act money, the Trump administration's tariff push, both pointed in the same direction.
The bottom line is that AI chip supply is becoming a geopolitical question as much as a technical one. Whoever controls fabrication controls the pace of AI development.
And this is where Europe should be paying close attention. The European CHIPS Act aimed to double Europe's share of global semiconductor production to 20% by 2030. But deals like Terafab concentrate cutting-edge capacity in Texas, not Dresden or Grenoble.
Intel's Magdeburg plant in Germany has been repeatedly delayed. Meanwhile, ASML in the Netherlands still makes the lithography machines that everyone, including Intel, depends on. So Europe has leverage, but mostly upstream.
Exactly the tension. European firms buy advanced AI chips. European firms make the tools to produce them. But the actual fabs and the resulting compute power increasingly sit outside the EU.
Which means European AI startups, automotive groups, and cloud providers will keep competing for allocation against hyperscalers and now Musk himself.
And don't forget the energy question. A terawatt of AI compute needs an enormous amount of electricity. Texas has cheap power. Europe, with higher energy costs, has a structural disadvantage here.
A tough reality, but a clarifying one. If Europe wants sovereign AI capability, it needs sovereign compute. And that conversation just got more urgent.
Next up, OpenAI has launched GPT-5.5. And before anyone groans about version number fatigue, this one does seem to be a meaningful step.
The headline improvements are better reasoning, better coding, better scientific research, and crucially, better token efficiency. Same speed as GPT 5.0, but smarter and safer, according to OpenAI.
The big technical leap is around agentic behavior, multi-step task planning, tool use, and self-correction. They're claiming 82.7% on Terminal Bench 2.0, which is a benchmark for autonomous coding tasks. That beats the competition.
And they're shipping it in multiple tiers: enterprise, developer, consumer. So the pricing story matters almost as much as the capability story.
Token efficiency is the quiet killer feature. If GPT 5.5 uses fewer tokens to reach the same answer, your API bill drops. For companies running agents at scale, that's real money.
This is important because we're moving from chatbots that answer questions to agents that do tasks. That's a very different risk profile and a very different business case.
And for Europe, this arrives at a particularly sensitive moment. The EU AI Act's obligations for general-purpose AI models with systemic risk are now in full effect. GPT 5.5 almost certainly falls into that category.
Which means OpenAI has to document training data, run model evaluations, report serious incidents, and share technical documentation with the AI office in Brussels.
The interesting question is whether GPT 5.5's improved self-correction actually helps with compliance. If the model is better at refusing harmful outputs and catching its own mistakes, that's a legitimate safety argument.
European enterprises will welcome the efficiency gains. French, German, and Dutch firms have been cautious about AI costs, especially given data residency concerns. Cheaper tokens plus EU-compliant deployment could accelerate adoption.
Though we should note, European AI champions like Mistral and Aleph Alpha are now facing a sharper capability gap. Competing with GPT 5.5 on raw performance is getting harder.
That's the European dilemma in a nutshell. Regulate the foreign players well, but somehow also build your own. Easier said than done. Quick interruption. If you listen to the State of Tech regularly, hit that like button and subscribe. That way you'll never miss an episode. Okay, moving on.
Story 3. SK Hynix has absolutely crushed it. Quarterly operating profit of 37.61 trillion won, that's roughly $25.4 billion, a five-fold increase year-on-year.
Sales nearly tripled to 52.58 trillion won. This is an AI memory story, specifically HBM, high bandwidth memory, which sits next to NVIDIA's GPUs.
SK Hynix has essentially become NVIDIA's preferred HBM supplier. Samsung has been playing catch-up on qualification. Micron is in the mix, but smaller. So SK Hynix is riding the wave almost unchallenged.
And they're significantly increasing capital spending this year to expand capacity, which tells you they expect the AI memory boom to continue well into 2027.
The prices are eye-watering. HBM3E modules are selling at premiums that would have been unthinkable 2 years ago. Memory used to be the cyclical commodity of the chip world. Now, it's the scarcity play.
Key takeaway. The AI boom isn't just about GPUs. Memory, networking, power, every layer of the stack is seeing extraordinary demand and extraordinary margins.
For Europe, the knock-on effects are real. Automotive manufacturers, especially German groups like Volkswagen, BMW, and Mercedes, use vast quantities of memory chips for infotainment, ADAS, and increasingly for in-vehicle AI.
And when HBM eats up fab capacity, conventional DRAM and NAND get pricier. European industrial firms end up paying more for essentially the same components they bought last year.
There's also a strategic vulnerability. Europe has almost no domestic memory production of significance. Infineon and ST Microelectronics do analog and power chips brilliantly, but memory is a Korean and American game.
Which means European dependence on Korea, and by extension, on Korea's geopolitical stability, is a quiet but serious issue.
Meanwhile, the European Chips Act grants don't really target memory. The focus has been on logic and specialty chips. Maybe that calculus needs revisiting.
Especially as AI models demand more memory per parameter. If you can't secure supply, you can't build sovereign AI. Simple as that. Moving on, Anthropic is expanding aggressively into Europe. They're hiring people specifically to negotiate data center capacity in Frankfurt, London, Amsterdam, Paris, Dublin, plus Nordic and Southern European markets.
This is the Claude maker, making the same playbook move OpenAI made a year ago. If you want to serve European enterprise customers seriously, you need European infrastructure.
The backdrop is staggering. U.S. tech firms are expected to spend over $600 billion on AI infrastructure in 2026. Anthropic wants its share of that to land on European soil.
The choice of cities is telling. Frankfurt for financial services and German enterprise, London for UK and Middle East coverage, Amsterdam as the Dutch and Benelux hub, Paris for French sovereignty requirements, Dublin for tax and English language base,
and Nordic markets for cheap, clean power. Iceland, Sweden, and Finland have hydroelectric and wind capacity that make them ideal for training-scale compute.
Southern Europe is the interesting addition. Spain and Portugal have solar abundance, and Spain in particular is positioning itself as a data center destination.
This affects everyone because AI is no longer a service delivered from a single U.S. data center. It's becoming a distributed, regional utility, and that has consequences for latency, sovereignty, and regulation.
3 immediate European implications. First, jobs. Data center construction and operation creates thousands of skilled positions, from civil engineering to network operations.
Second, data sovereignty. If Claude runs on European hardware, European customer data can stay within EU jurisdiction. That unlocks public sector contracts and regulated industries like healthcare and finance.
Third, regulatory scrutiny. The AI office in Brussels, plus national data protection authorities, will want oversight of how Anthropic operates on EU soil. Expect detailed conversations about model training, red teaming, and incident reporting.
There's also the environmental angle. European countries have strict energy and water usage rules for data centers. Ireland, for instance, has effectively paused new grid connections for data centers in parts of Dublin.
So Anthropic's expansion will run straight into some very local, very political fights about power, water, and zoning. Welcome to Europe.
Still, net positive for European AI capacity. The continent becomes less of a consumer-only market and more of an infrastructure participant.
Story 5. Gartner's new forecast. Global IT spending hits $6.31 trillion this year, up 13.5% from 2025. AI is the engine.
Data center systems are growing at 55.8%. That's not a typo, Bob. 55.8%.
IT services remain the biggest category at over $1.87 trillion. Software, especially generative AI, also grows strongly. Devices and communication services are the slower lanes.
What's striking is how concentrated the growth is. A handful of hyperscalers, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Meta, and increasingly Oracle, are driving a disproportionate share of that data center spending.
And the capital is coming from cash flow, debt issuance, and increasingly from creative structures. Joint ventures, sale-leasebacks, even sovereign wealth involvement.
The bottom line is that AI is now a macroeconomic force. Goldman, Morgan Stanley, everyone is rewriting their GDP models because of data center construction.
For Europe, the Gartner numbers sharpen a choice that's been visible for a while. Either European firms invest heavily to build competitive AI capability, or they accept being long-term customers of American infrastructure.
SAP, for instance, has been pushing hard into its AI Copilot portfolio. European telcos are partnering with hyperscalers for sovereign cloud offerings. Dassault and Siemens are embedding generative AI into industrial workflows.
But the raw CapEx numbers suggest Europe is still outspent several times over. The EU's Invest AI initiative, that €200 billion AI investment plan, sounds large until you compare it to $600 billion in a single year from U.S. firms alone.
There's also the skills angle. Gartner's growth requires people, cloud architects, ML engineers, data center operators. Europe has a shortfall here, and immigration policy isn't exactly helping.
Regulation is the counterweight. The AI Act, GDPR, the Digital Services Act, these give European regulators real influence over how that $6 trillion spend plays out on the continent.
So the European question is whether regulatory leverage can substitute for investment firepower. My suspicion is, partially, yes. Fully, no.
Which is why the next few years matter so much. Either Europe carves out a distinct, credible tech identity, or it becomes the world's best regulated customer base.
And now our fun closer. Marubeni, the Japanese trading house, has signed an MOU with a Spanish company called Multiverse Computing. And Bob, the technology here is genuinely cool.
It is. Multiverse Computing is based in San Sebastian. They've developed something called Compactive AI, a quantum-inspired compression technique that shrinks AI models by up to 90%.
90% smaller, with only 2 to 3% loss in accuracy. The trick is tensor networks, a mathematical approach borrowed from quantum physics, applied to classical neural networks.
Think of it like extraordinary compression. You take a massive language model and you mathematically reorganize its parameters so most of them become redundant. Keep the essence, ditch the fluff.
And Marubeni wants to deploy this in Japan specifically to address data center power consumption. GPU shortages, and high operational costs. Japan has been particularly hard hit by AI infrastructure constraints.
Which is why this is so clever. Instead of building more fabs and more data centers, you make the models themselves leaner. It's the efficiency path rather than the brute force path.
And this affects everyone, because if compression techniques really deliver 90% size reduction, the economics of AI deployment change dramatically. Edge devices, smartphones, even cars could run models that today require a data center.
Here's what I love about this as a European story. Multiverse Computing was founded in 2019 in the Basque Country. They've raised serious funding, they're a recognized leader in quantum-inspired optimization, and now they're exporting their tech to Japan.
It's exactly the kind of deep tech, research-intensive company Europe needs more of. Not another photo-sharing app. Actual, hard, differentiated science.
And the Basque region has quietly become a European hub for quantum and AI research. Donostia International Physics Center, the new IBM quantum system in San Sebastián, there's a real ecosystem forming.
The irony is lovely too. A Spanish company using quantum-inspired techniques to solve a Japanese infrastructure problem, commercialized by a Japanese conglomerate. That's globalization working properly.
And it reminds us that European tech isn't only about regulation. There are genuine innovation stories, often in niche but critical areas where European firms lead.
Compactive AI could also find a very receptive European audience. High energy prices, sustainability mandates, and the push for smaller sovereign models all point in Multiverse's direction.
So maybe the future of AI isn't just bigger. It's smarter, leaner, and, at least in this case, unmistakably European.
A nice note to end on. Today we covered Musk and Intel's Terafab alliance, OpenAI's
GPT-5.5
launch, SK Hynix's record AI memory profits, Anthropic's European data center expansion, Gartner's 13.5% IT spending forecast, and the Spanish quantum-inspired AI compression deal heading to Japan.
Want to know more or react? Visit stateoftech.eu or email us at info@doorzetters.net. State of Tech, the tech world in 15 minutes.